I am embarrassed to say that for years, I barely thought at all about accessories. Like, even after I'd gotten into high fashion or whatever, to me, accessorizing meant like throwing on a hat sometimes, maybe. You know what I mean? But I finally started getting my act together, and you've seen some of that on this channel. You've seen a couple pieces of jewelry, like belts, stuff like that. We've started bringing these things in, but finally I have locked down my jewelry loadout. Yeah, that's right. I said loadout. You know, we're going full on Doom 2016 Gent Metal here. We're going Halo Combat Evolved. We're going Overwatch 2, the crappy sequel. We're going League of Legends LCS LEC, a world championship loadout here. We're ready to ult on these motherfuckers, okay? That was like the most cringe rant I've ever gone on. That's what the kids call an oof. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm extremely happy with where we're at this point, and I want to show you in depth what I'm wearing on my hands, on my neck, all that good stuff. So let's check this jewelry out. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to really rap with you, talk with you, because I'm just really not doing well, from a mental health perspective. And my therapist told me that the only way I'll get better is if you go and subscribe to my new podcast called The Biased Cut that I do with Christian from Brave New Wear. So yeah, that's just really important to me. The link is in the description. Thank you so much, and we'll get through this together. So I want to go piece by piece here, body part by body part. No, not what you're thinking. I did not have a Prince Albert or anything like that. You freaks. You're a freak, okay? Yeah, let's start with like my right hand. Let's start with the fingies, okay? Let's start by talking about this pinky finger right here. So for this one, I go with the Chrome Hearts Cemetery Cross ring. Oh, look at that beautiful focus. Thank you, autofocus. So this one, it's small, it goes on the pinky. I did an entire video about this and about what the experience was like shopping at the actual Chrome Hearts store in Miami. So if you're interested, go check that out because that was an experience in and of itself. So I won't spend too much time on this, but I'll just say the two jewelers, why was it so hard for me to find that word? The two jewelers that I respond to the most these days are Chrome Hearts and Enfant Riche de Prime. I think they're both doing really interesting jewelry, and they're both really good at specific oxidization to give it this darkness and depth in the pieces that most sterling silver jewelry just doesn't, that's out on the market right now. So that's for my right pinky, that Cemetery Cross ring from Chrome Hearts. Then moving on, I also have a ring on my right ring finger, the unimportant ring finger. And no, I wasn't giving you the finger because this is the ring finger, not the middle finger, okay? Guys, we gotta calm down here. You gotta get with the program. It's not the finger. I already see the comments. Anyway, on my right ring finger, this might be contentious, but I have another Chrome Hearts Cemetery Cross ring. But this one's a bit different, okay? It's much bigger because it's on the ring finger, first of all. But also, the one on my pinky is circular. It's even all the way around, whereas this is squared off. Each side gets two crosses, one kind of like right side up, one upside down, and they go around, so it's four sides, and it gives it a much different look, much chunkier and much more hard edge. So where the circular one is smooth and it feels a bit more easy, this just feels like a punch in the face, you know what I mean? And it's heavy. It's got a lot of heft to it. So I don't know, some people might not like that I put the two cemetery cross rings right next to each other, but I tried it in a bunch of different configurations, and that one was actually my favorite. So the two Chrome Heart Cemetery crosses right next to each other on the right hand. And finally, on my right hand as well, I have one more ring, and that goes on the index finger right here. And for this is another ring that we've already looked at on this channel, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But this is the Enfant Riche de Prime Rose Belt Ring. And this might actually be like my favorite ring, because what they've done is they have taken this belt right here. Okay. So this has this like rose buckle and the iron cross in it and all this good stuff. It's so intricate, so interesting. And what they've done is they have shrunken that down to a ring that fits on my index finger. So it has the iron cross. It has the actual rose buckle with all of this oxidized detailing around the edges. And then it has this kind of chain link going around the sides. It's playful, it's kind of cheeky and ironic, but it's also done with some really impressive craftsmanship as well that makes it stand on its own, not just as a mini-me of that belt, even though that's also what it is. So I think this thing is just sick. But now let's move it along. Let's talk about the left hand and move once again all the way to the end for El Pinky. So on my left pinky, we are going back to Chrome Hearts. We have got this fleur-de-lis, is that even how you pronounce that? Open-backed ring here. And this one, I actually had to get sized to make it a bit smaller. Normally, these would be a bit more separated at the back, but they're essentially touching here, and that's what makes it small enough to fit on my pinky. But this one, I think I'd call it one of the simplest rings that Chrome Hearts makes, but it's very striking. It almost reminds me of like the grill or hood ornament of like a classic car or something like that. It just has that ornamentation to it, that kind of these modernist lines almost. And this little button right in the middle, it's a nice, cute little button right here. So it's nothing crazy. It's nothing to write home about. But you also, I don't know, I don't want my pinky ring being like the big whiz-bang piece. That doesn't feel right for me. Save that for some of the bigger fingers, the chunkier fingers, you know what I mean? So this is just a kind of piece to tie a few things together from Chrome Hearts here. Moving right along to my left middle finger. I'm not doing it. I'm not even going to show you. This we've looked at on the channel before, but I've actually gotten it sized since then. So I used to wear this on my right ring finger, but I actually got it stretched out a bit to go on my middle finger because it's just the kind of loadout. You know what I mean? You got to figure out your loadout. So this is the Chrome Hearts nail ring. It's really cool. It's got some really nice detailing, like these little stripes around the sides, and the head of the nail is very similar to that like fleur-de-lis pinky ring that we've got. And it has a really good effect. Like this is one of the ones that people call out the most, perhaps surprisingly or not surprisingly. But it just fits really well, and it's incredibly striking in a bunch of different ways. And again, the oxidization on that nail head is fantastic. All right, there's one more ring for my left hand, and that is for the left index finger right here. And this is the chunkiest boy of them all. We've got one more piece here from Chrome Hearts. I just think they do incredible sterling silver work, and I think their rings especially are the best of the bunch. Their bracelets, necklaces, stuff like that, I'm honestly not as crazy about, but the rings for some reason just hit right. So this is the one and only piece that I have from Matty Boy. This is the double chomper ring, and there's some insane craftsmanship and detailing in this ring. So first of all, I don't want to get called out. I don't want people asking questions. I'll say this ring was too big for me when I bought it. So I've got two things going on. There's a bracer in there, and there's also a little kind of foam adhesive thing to get it to fit, because I'm deciding if I want to put in the investment to resize it. And I've decided I really like this ring, so I will be doing that. But for now, it's kind of jankily sized down to fit on my finger. Anyway, back to the ridiculous details. So if I were to hold this up right in here, there are our two chompers. It's two kind of mirror image mouths, and you can see again oxidized inside to give it that depth. But you'll also see that while the ring itself is sterling silver, on each of the chomper mouths there are gold teeth that are put in there. And that is just such a nice touch. It's so sick. And if you look at the ring from the side, it also has the shape of teeth, essentially. They're shaped in this really specific, like molar-y kind of way. So when people see it from the side, they're like, "Is that a tooth on a ring?" And then they look at the top, and it's like, no, it's mouths in silver and black, but also with gold teeth. It's it's playful. It feels kind of like rock and roll punk in an interesting way. And I think that Matty Boy's stuff is actually some of my favorite at Chrome Hearts because I think he maybe understands what the brand needs to move forward and keep modernizing and appeal to younger and newer consumers. So I do appreciate his work quite a bit. So that's all of the rings. It's 6 rings in total, 3 on each hand. But of course, this is a jewelry loadout. It ain't just rings. So let's move on up the hand to the arm and talk about some braces, some little bracelets. So first up for my right wrist, we've got a piece that is inside this leather pouch right here. And this one we've seen on the channel, so I won't belabor it too much, but this video is all about completionism. I'm showing the full loadout, right? So this right here is the Enfant Riche de Prime Rose bracelet. And this is probably the most impressive silverwork that I have ever seen, from the individual leaves to the thorns to the stem to the petals of the flower of the rose itself. There's some insane stuff going on here, and they've done some really intentional stuff with like the patina and the oxidization of all of it to give it this depth and age that makes it just look like something from another era. And this to me is one of like my personal grails in my collection. I don't know how much people pay for these nowadays. I think they're part of like the permanent collection, so they're not crazy difficult to get your hands on. But for me, I personally value this so much because I just find it to be such an impressive piece. And moving right along to my left wrist, because we gotta get both of them in here, we've got a piece that is inside this even bigger leather pouch. We're leveling up for some reason. Inside of this is a plastic bag filled with cocaina, okay? Now, I'm just kidding. Although Enfant Riche de Prime, they do sell a sterling silver spoon for exactly that purpose. Not that I'm in the market for that. Anyway, we got a bag with ERD branding all over it, because why not? And inside that bag is another fantastic bracelet here. And this is like a snake serpent, I would say. And this one is even more kind of oxidized than the other pieces, but the amount of detail in here is actually absurd. So you've got each individual scale, and they're different on top and underneath, and they change depending on how far along the head or the tail you are. And you've got this tail that wraps around itself, and that's the mechanism by which it connects. Like the head sits kind of inside the loop of the tail. And the thing that really impresses me about this is the intricacy of this upturned tongue and the tiny little pointy fangs. Like, I know for a fact that whoever is making these probably had countless times where they screwed up those tiny details because they just fat fingered it, you know what I mean? And just ruined the entire thing and hated themselves and hated their life. And you have to put some value on that, you know what I mean? That's what craftsmanship truly is. So this piece is just incredibly interesting to me. All right, finally, last but most certainly not least, we have one more piece of jewelry to look at, and that, of course, is for the neck. So I have a few necklaces already. Probably the one that I wear most often is the Alix roller coaster buckle choker. But I've got to be honest, I was getting a bit bothered that I didn't have any necklaces that were sterling silver, because all the other jewelry I wear is pure silver, and having all these stainless steel pieces for necklaces just wasn't cutting it for me at a certain point. And it's also weird there aren't that many people making sterling necklaces in this space, or at least the designers that I pay the most attention to don't do it that often. So finally, once again, giant leather pouch. We have another piece from Enfant Riche de Premier. This time the pouch is branded. Big ol' stamp right here. And this is a staple piece from the brand, something they're incredibly well known for, because inside this bag is a safety pin necklace. And this is exactly what it sounds like, okay? This is a series of safety pins that are put together, but there is a difference. These are safety pins that were specifically made to work in necklace form, and they are also sterling silver made by Enfant Riche de Premier. That is the thing that makes it work. So sure, you could make this piece for yourself, or an approximation of it for probably $2 at home and have it done in 5 minutes. But there's a certain cachet to this, and there's a certain value to the ERD name and the fact that it is actual silver, which sterling silver safety pins, they're not exactly flooding the internet. You know what I mean? So this piece, of course, I grew up in the punk scene. I grew up idolizing the early, New York and DC punk scenes, all this stuff. The safety pins are an iconic piece of the fashion of all of those scenes. It's a practical thing. They were used to put back together torn garments because it was all about DIY, do it yourself. You're not going to go buy a new pair of jeans or a new t-shirt. You're just going to safety pin it all back together. So ending up with a necklace made out of these was very practical and kind of a no-brainer to the people of the time. So harkening back to that has a lot of value to me. So yeah, I could see people kind of making fun of this, being like, why would you pay for that? But I see the point. I understand the value, and I understand why people really, really like that piece. So we've now looked at all the pieces of my jewelry loadout. So I think we can't leave without looking at all of them on, right? Let's start putting these pieces on and see how they look on me in real life. Let's do it. I hope you enjoyed that. It's not often that I do like thematic videos like this, like looking at an entire subsection of my collection for something. So let me know down below if you liked it. Check out the other video on screen, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I'll see you next time.